Hi, Gareth. You're in touching distance of qualification. Now, I know you'll take absolutely nothing for granted, and you never have, but a draw is enough for England tomorrow night. That gives you a huge motivation in what is a massive game anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. Ultimately, the first objective is always to qualify for the tournaments, and our performances earlier in the group have put us in a really strong position. So, although the first thing we want to do is win the game, play well, win the game, but we know if it's the 87th minute and we're level, then we don't need to lob the goalkeeper into the box at the end of the game.
On a slightly more difficult note, I need to ask you about Jordan Henderson and what happened to him at Wembley on Friday night. He came out and spoke to the papers to give him some huge credit, and he said he's going to continue to play for his country as long as he can. If the boos continue, though, can you continue to select him? Yes,
100%. I'll always pick the players that I think are the best players to represent the team, that give us the best chance of winning, unless there's something that I feel is not appropriate. In this instance, people may disagree with Jordan's stance or decision, given the stance he's taken in the past to support the LGBT community. But I don't think that's a reason to not select him, and I don't actually think that's a reason to boo him. So we would like all the fans behind us. We're a stronger team if the supporters are with us and wholeheartedly supporting the team. That's the connection we've had over a long period of time now. We'll assess Jordan like every other player, but if I just select on popularity contest, then our team would look very, very different.
It's a difficult one for you, though, isn't it? Because you've had to defend a couple of senior players in recent times. I remember how upset you were up at Hampden Park when Harry Maguire was barracked by the Scotland supporters. So while you're having to defend these very experienced players, does it make you more determined than ever to kind of keep selecting them and supporting them specifically?
Well, I will always assess how people are playing and assess what's our strongest team and our strongest squad. So it wouldn't be fair to say I'm going to support the players and select them regardless of what they're capable of if better younger players come through. But I am also going to defend our players, our team, because we need that unity, we need that strength. And the two players you're talking about have performed again and again and again in massive games for us. And their quality, their experience, the unmeasurable factors that we have as a group because of that team spirit and that togetherness that have brought us good results and important big results. I think their sort of characters are a big part of the reason we've had those big nights.
Carl, if I can ask you about the same sort of subject, if that's okay. I mean, you know Jordan Henderson so well. He made his debut, I think, a year before you. You've played in this England team together for more than a decade. Yep. What did you make of it when you were there at Wembley on Friday night?
It's not nice to hear. I've known Jordan since probably the age of 9 when we was playing against Sheffield United v Sunderland. So to see what he's done for the country for so many years, and what he does for around the team as well, as we know him, you know, it's a family in there, and we spend, as we have done, a week together in a hotel, you know, and he's a big part of the togetherness and keeping the group, you know, together and making sure that everyone feels welcome when, you know, new players come in or people step in. So to hear that, it's not nice to hear, but people are entitled to their opinions. But you know, I fully, you know, back Jordan and, you know, his decision and what he's had to do.
Changing tack a bit. This is the first time that Italy will have played at Wembley since the final of the Euros, and I'm sorry to bring that up, Kyle, but I wonder whether that gives you extra motivation. I'm sure you're going to say trying to qualify for a major tournament is a motivation in its own right, but I know how much that hurt you and the rest of the players.
Yeah, of course. To do what we did in that special summer, to arrive so close, and probably, you know, for me to concede a goal for a set play where we've been so good, it was, you know, it was a bit devastating. But I feel just as like at club level, I went to Porto and lost against Chelsea, and then 2 years later I've gone and done the treble. So I feel that people and teams evolve from that. I think you learn from occasions where you've been in finals and lose finals and setbacks, and you go on and achieve something great. And I think just what the boss said there, then we get a draw and we go through. So it's about managing the game. Obviously, first and foremost, it's about going out and putting a performance on and winning. But I won't be ashamed if it's a 0-0 and we're in the Euros, and you know, I'm going to represent my country at the finals.
Gareth, last one from me. You've said that England, you think, are a very different team now from that final. In what way would you pick out?
Experience, experience of winning big matches, consistent performances. We've been ranked in the top 5 in the world now since 2018. So I don't think there's been any other period over the last 30, 40 years where that's been the case. So these boys are consistently producing big nights, memorable nights, good performances, exciting performances in general. And we want to keep doing that.
Thank you.
Hi Gareth. You praised Kyle and Kieran after the game in Scotland, called them warriors. Are they and the senior players examples of what Italy have been praised for over the year, and have that know-how of how to win at the international level?
Yeah, very much so. You can't fast track that. You can't just give people experience. It's got to come from playing in the big nights, playing in those big matches, the difficult times you go through as a player, the challenges that you face as a player. All of that breeds a really experienced player. But also there are things like communication that on the pitch have such an important factor. You know, if a winger's playing in front of these two, they've got full support, so much instruction, and you become more than just the sum of your parts, because that togetherness, the organisation it brings, the experience that they bring, and the spirit amongst that group. You know, so many of that back line in particular have played together so many times, are prepared to put their bodies on the line for each other. They're intangible things, but they're what make winning teams.
And last week, Harry Maguire, he spoke about the importance of the fan support, and you mentioned it after the Scotland game as well. How important that he gets a positive reaction from the fans tomorrow if he is to play? He
will. You know, the England fans, I think, are brilliant with him. They were brilliant with him that night. I think he's, well, the whole team, they're behind the team, really. We've had a couple of incidents that I don't understand, because I don't think any player wearing an England shirt warrants that. You know, I grew up seeing John Barnes receive that sort of criticism, and other players over the years, so that's never helped the team. We should be always about the team, and then if you have an opinion about a player outside of that, fine, no problem. But I think we're all trying to achieve the same thing. We're all trying to create a successful England team, have an environment where, you know, there's been one of the best connections between the team and the public for many a decade, and we want to keep doing that.
Thank you. And for Kyle, after the game in Scotland that week, Gareth said they're probably your 2 best performances for England. Do you feel like you're in the best moment of your career right now?
No, I feel good. I think it's like, thank you first and foremost. But you know, it's just about, as the boss said there, it's about experience. It's about you play in different types of matches, and you get the crowd, and you get different types of environments and different situations. And you know, me and Trips do try and coach our wingers as much as possible, because it makes our life much easier. You know, if they're doing their attacking work as they're meant to be doing, but also the other side of their game, which is the defensive work, and being in the right position, it makes our jobs a lot easier. So listen, as I just say what the boss said there, that we're trying to create an environment that, you know, it's enjoyable to come and play here, and it is. You know, I love coming here. I love coming here still at 33, and I want to continue to keep coming here because of the, first and foremost, the lads, of what we can achieve, and we need everyone behind us. I mean, everyone that goes onto that field wants to be the man of the match, and when the boss selects 11 to go onto the field, I feel that the whole nation should be behind that team, to make sure that we go and win a game.
Just on that, your age, there was a lot spoken about your international career and how you had to be talked into carrying on. Do you have a time in your mind when you think you may stop?
I'm going to keep going forever now.
Okay, Kerry.
If we go back to that final, Chiellini is a figure that stands out. He says that he loves you as a player and has been enjoying watching your career. What do you remember of that meme moment, though, with him and Bukayo Saka? He admits that Saka outpaced him and he pulled him down, and he pulled him down hard. And it was the one mistake he made of that tournament.
I haven't seen the meme, to be fair. I don't really follow too much on the social media and the internet and stuff like that, but he's a great player. I think what he's achieved and the clubs that he's played for speaks for itself. Listen, we fell short on that night, and this is the first time they're coming back to Wembley, so hopefully we can go out there and put a good performance on, and maybe get a little bit of payback.
He also said that many times England arrive at the end of the season at a tournament and they're devastated because of the amount of games they've played. Pep Guardiola, your manager, just said recently that with the build-up of the games, he's really worried for the welfare of players, real concern about the build-up. And he said there's only one solution to change something, maybe if the players decide for themselves to stop. Do you agree with him? Is it that big a concern in the dressing room?
I think we've got used to it over the number of years, that especially at club level with me, that you're playing every 3 or 4 days at a maximum, so your body actually just comes adapted to it. Now it's not up to me to rewrite the rules on when football is going to be played or not going to be played. I have a job to do, whether that's representing my club or country, to turn up and play the games that I'm chosen to play. So as for that, I can't really comment if it's right or wrong, but when I'm available to play and I feel fit, then I will give it my all.
Over the years that you have been playing, though, do you believe the match minutes, the intensity of the game, the number of games, the lack of break is affecting or impacting players like never before?
I think it's always the more you play, the more risk of injury and stuff like that. I mean, especially with the added minutes that are getting on in the Premier League now. But I don't think it's for me to start, commenting on or questioning. I just have to get on with it. We play the games and we don't complain, and we just keep moving forward.
Gareth, what was your reaction to Pep Guardiola's words? Because I know for an international manager, it's really hard to manage the match minutes, to know what's being asked of the players from club to country. Now we've got the winter break this season, it's under threat for next season. Was it refreshing to have a club manager being so strong on it?
Well, I think, we don't really have a winter break here. We fudge something. But I think the players are well conditioned. Medical and science support is good. I'm only repeating what I've said in the past, really. We keep adding more and more competitions and nobody takes anything out. So I think incredible challenge coming up for the clubs that are going to be in the Club World Cup, and what that will look like and how they'll approach that and then go into the following season. We're always mindful of the welfare of the players. We want to have our best players available for the really important games, and even this week we've felt it appropriate to manage the group. So that's another challenge for us, in that we've expected to win games still and produce good performances and everything else. So we'll never risk players. We have good relationships medically with the clubs. I think they trust us to look after their players. You can never guarantee anything because contact injuries can happen, but we try to reduce that possibility as much as we can.
And there's been lots of talk about the Beckham documentary, but what's very clear is qualification for tournaments was never a regular and certain thing. under England. How proud are you that you've brought that stability? Because looking at Italy, back-to-back World Cups that they've failed to qualify.
Well, it's a reminder that we shouldn't ever take it for granted. We're in a strong position now, and we've still got the best two teams in the world have gone out in terms of rankings. That's how hard it is. You have to deliver at those moments. So many things and factors come into it. So that is the challenge of international sport, really.
Carl, just a lot of controversy in the build-up to this international break over VAR. Your manager to your right says he doesn't think it's really improved the situation. What's your interpretation of it in your role on the pitch? Do you think it's helping the game, or would you like to see automatic offsides? Have you got a viewpoint?
I like it when it's when it helps us out, and I don't like it when it doesn't help us out. So I feel that sometimes it does take away the talk about football. You know, when you're talking with your mates, and you know, was it a goal? Was it offside? Was it not offside? And I feel that it does take that out of it. But sometimes that obviously does make an error as well, which they've come out and said sorry to Liverpool for about that. So it's football. There's going to be opinions and who's right and who's wrong.
Gareth, if we look at that final and go back to Euro 2020 and of course the penalties and the reaction to them, it was such a turning point in this country. So when you say with Jordan Henderson you don't understand the booing, you can understand why people didn't take those words from you too well, because you brought a country together against racism, against hate. Jordan Henderson was announced at his new club with the rainbow armband blacked out. This is a country that's regularly carrying out executions that Amnesty are trying to highlight. Do you understand why there's a little bit of disappointment to those words, that you don't understand the booing, and is that taken out of context? And how much has that team grown? The like of Marcus, of course, Bakayo's not here, but a regular converting big pressure moments from the penalty spot.
Yeah, hopefully what I explained at the start would explain why I said I don't understand it, in that I don't understand why we would boo our own team. As I said earlier, what I do understand is that people would feel that the decision Jordan made to go and play there doesn't align with his strong support of the LGBTQ community in the past. I've not seen him comment anywhere differently. I don't believe he's an individual whose values and principles have changed, and I would back him against pretty much everybody in the country in terms of what he stands for, what he believes in. But I accept that the decision to go and play there doesn't align with that. So he understands that, he accepts that. But I repeat, when we're playing for England, I feel as if everybody should be behind the team, but if people choose not to be, then we have to deal with that.
And the growth of the players that went through that horrible abuse after the penalties at the Euros?
Well, it's always adversity and difficulty in your career. People are going to react to very differently, and every individual circumstance is unique. So it's been a mixed journey for all of them, really. But I don't think that's just because of what happened that night. From our perspective, it's 2 years ago. We've had a lot of big nights since then. We've played Italy 3 times since then. Yes, we've learned from what happened then, but also from many, many nights since. And we're looking forward to tomorrow's game, because it's a high-level game, 2 top teams, a full house at Wembley. They're the nights you want to be involved in.
John Souness made an appearance in the last match. How can he start, and how much has Mark Gurhey pushing for that spot if he's not available?
Yeah, well, John, we're working closely with his club in terms of his recovery. He's been out a long time, so we've got to keep assessing him. And Mark is doing really, really well. He's played with great maturity in the 2 games last month. He's a very calm player, positionally excellent. You know, at times he might not catch the eye in the way that some other players do because he's in the right place. So he's not having to tear around and cover for something that he's got wrong. Composed with the ball, very good mentality. So we think he's developing really well.
Okay, thank you everyone. We'll conclude it there. Just a polite note for the broadcasters, if you can promptly pack up and depart, it'd be helpful because we need to use this room for a follow-up briefing. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.